Welcome to it. Sunday Live is here with the Average Joe Sports Show. That is Gary Sharp. That is Bill Doleman. That is Elijah Herbel. Chris Schmidt. Elijah, what's on your shirt, dude?
Oh, it's Tottenham legend Hyun-Min Son.
Okay. I thought it was some unicorn or wolf gear again, but no.
It's a soccer player. He announced, I guess technically 2 days ago now, that he will be leaving the club this summer, coming off to the MLS. So thank you.
That and more today on the Average Joe Sports Show.
A true club legend, but we have more important things to talk about than soccer.
We do.
How about the end of that Formula One race?
Yeah, that was touch and go.
Don't spoil it for Bill. He's got it on.
Oh, okay. The last 5 laps, Bill. Woo!
Finally have some racing in F1.
They're speeding.
Finally have some racing. Okay. All right.
Big red preview. Ding, ding, ding. And, of course, fan day. And, of course, concession prices. Sharpie, how was it, dude?
It was, you know what? It was really good. I was surprised there weren't more people there.
So what's the body count?
2,500.
That's it?
Yeah. I think it was the football stuff was better than last year. Okay. They didn't have Rule mic'd up because last year I think they kind of treated it as a showcase. I think they tried to treat last night as close to a real practice as possible without giving anything away. But yeah, there were only about 2,500 people there. The weather was beautiful. I think everybody that was there, you enjoyed it. I don't know if it's, on the heels, fan day was packed. The lines 10 hours beforehand, people were lining up and there were a lot of people at fan day. And I don't know how much of a spillover they got. So it might be the price, it's what, $10 to get in. I don't know. It was good last night. It was good to see some different things. I don't know what the future of this event is because I thought the crowd would be larger yesterday and it wasn't.
Well, and let's just think about a year from now. If Nebraska does what the team wants to do and the fans want them to do, maybe it will be bigger next year with a good season, a breakthrough season. Between media days, between BTN being on campus to check out a practice Friday, and then folks seeing with their own eyes that blip on the radar is getting a little bit louder for Nebraska football. The excitement level cranking up on the local level for sure as we get closer to Arrowhead, but also on a national standpoint, more talking points attached to Nebraska, especially with ESPN's projection of 32 teams that can make the playoff. We'll dive into that a little bit, but how maybe go ahead and overreact or underreact to some of the personnel you noticed yesterday.
Well, here's one thing, and I know it's the first week of camp. So some guys are starting to feel it at the end. And it was their first padded time up, which is, I think college football should have an exhibition game. It's really the only sport that doesn't have an exhibition game. And I think they should have an exhibition game, whether it's open to the public or not, because you only get 9 padded practices and then you're expected to go out there and play. And, as we get these great games on week 1, you might get some unintended results because guys are not fully ready to play when it terms of contact, but that's beside the point. I think especially on offense, and I know this is going to violate a lot of my rules and others, when they break the huddle, they look like a real football team. Mm-hmm. Like they have some dudes. They have some guys that are built. The offensive line is considerably different in terms of their bodies. Pritchett's issue isn't physical. It's all mental and understanding the plays and what to do. I think the normal guys stand out. The defensive backs and wide receivers I thought was a good drill because I think that the word physicality that was lacking last year on the outside perimeter blocking for Nebraska has been addressed. You can tell that. Even Ja'Cory Barney is laying it out there to block out on the outside. And by the way, Ja'Cory Barney is quickly turning into one of the most popular players. He gets it, man. You could tell he was out there. He was loving playing football. He was playing to the crowd. But it's like he always plays football with a smile on his face, which is pretty cool. But the fact that the wide receivers and defensive backs are beating the crap out of each other, I think is great because they stress physicality, especially with the wide receivers. And you can see that the DBs are giving it right back to them, which I think benefits the DBs as well, along with the wide receivers. A guy who I wasn't super high on, even though he put up incredible numbers in Nebraska. Connor Booth impressed me last night. He looks like he fits. And I don't know what it means in terms of carries because I'm going to put two guys in Sharpie this morning. Mekhi Nelson is your backup running back. Quentin Ives, look up on Wikipedia, Wally Pipp. And then Andrew Marshall. Andrew Marshall is going to be your starting cornerback opposite Sierra Wright. So I don't know what the running back rotation looks like. But Booth, I was like, is he a Nebraska kid that had great numbers, record-setting numbers they gave a scholarship to? He's well coached at Newman. I mean, he looked like he fit last night. But other than that, the usuals, that have been impressive, look impressive. But Nebraska, I'm just going to put it out there. And this is sitting with people that were not media people last night, just regular fans, is all that is left, and it's going to be a long 3 weeks, guys. I mean, there's going to be a lot of camp, and there's going to be a lot of speculation. There's going to be a lot of 8 wins. There's going to be a lot of 9 wins. There's possibly going to be 10 wins. Is all that's left for Nebraska is for this season is the results on the field. I think they have everything in place. I think they have roster upgrades at certain spots that won't happen this year, but could happen next year. But if they don't pop this year, if they don't have a successful year, they're going to break this fan base because they finally have a head coach who likes being here, that I think people like him a lot because he likes being the head coach of Nebraska, that if they don't pop this year, this fan base is going to break.
There is urgency and pressure and all that, and you have past history of year 3 that's obviously well detailed.
But
some year 3s are created differently, where you get and make your own breaks in a lot of tight games. He did that his 3rd year at Baylor to get to a Big 12 championship game, and they were clutch. They were amazingly clutch that season. Temple was pretty dominant. So what's the tale of 2025? Because I think we were talking with Vogues yesterday from Counter Read. I mean, we have all kind of circled 4 to 5 coin flips, right? Mm-hmm. Coin flip ball games. You love your personnel. You love the talent. You love the physicality and athleticism. You have all that. Well, can you go do it when it comes to John Wayne / John Elway time in the final 2 minutes defensively or offensively? How do you position yourself for a good fourth quarter? They've done that strength and conditioning wise. They've done that with depth, we think. But they got to go make it happen. And Coach Rule keeps preaching that, and they keep practicing that. So if you're a Nebraska fan, you hope it pays off.
Well, it's a case of if not now, then when with this football team. You're on to year 3. We know everything about year 3 with Matt Rule, but you went and had urgency in the transfer portal. You got one of the best offensive minds to coach your offense and your 5-star quarterback, which not many teams around the country can say they have a 5-star quarterback running the show. The talent you brought in the portal, you've had time now to develop internally the guys that you've brought in, and even some guys that were carryovers from the last roster. I mean, there's still some of them around, but you've had time to build what you want internally. You've had the urgency in the portal. You got the 5-star quarterback, the guy that is the centerpiece of your football team right now. I mean, if not now, then when? That's the story of this 2025 season. If you can't get it done, if it doesn't pop, if you're not nationally relevant in November, when will it happen? Because it seems to me from the outside looking in that so many things have aligned for this football season for this to be the, you know what, they can get back to a place where Husker fans think they should be. If you don't do it this season, it is a disaster. I think if you don't, Matt Rule quickly puts himself on the hot seat. I think Dylan Raiola is going to be looking around asking, is this the place for me? Other folks in the transfer portal, you can have all the money in the world, but if they think you're going to come here and suck as a football team, guys are going to want to come. It's like, it's the turning point of football season. If not now, then when?
Well, Gary, thank you for
Sunday.
Gary,
that's
thank
true.
you for accepting your assignment and going to practice, because Schmidt drugged me out for a couple of cocktails last night. We actually talked more about Nebraska basketball than we did about Nebraska football. So But I would
That
like
Frager
to.
kid, man.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah, he's having a hell of a off season.
Yeah. So Husker Hoops is looking good if they stub their toe against Cincinnati. So I was listening to the Average Joe Sports Show on Friday at 5:00, and there was some brilliant things being said by whoever was on in that time slot. And I appreciate Dakil Shorts and Addison Williams listening in at that time, because I said, or that person said, perimeter blocking has got to be better. While everybody's focusing on the offensive and defensive lines and how they're managing and owning the line of scrimmage, perimeter blocking to me, or that caller guessed, is primary, because if you beat up defensive backs for 4 quarters in the second half, the runs pop, and you don't have to have the breakaway 4-2 speed. You can have a 4-4, 4-5, 4-6 back, or a fullback. Tom Rathman, Sam Schmidt, busting open a dive play, because DBs don't want to hit because they've been hit. So I'm heartened to hear that the perimeter blocking was physical, because that is absolutely primary for that run game to succeed, to get yards after the line of scrimmage and into the second and third levels. Also, Andrew Marshall, was one of my top 5 players to watch for defensively, because Nebraska has to have somebody solidify the corner spot opposite Sierra Wright. And if he's coming in and elevating from the Big Sky to the Big Ten, and if Tommy Hill goes down, they don't have to move Malcolm Hartzog back to the corner spot where they don't want him. So if Marshall can come in and become a quality, athletic, physical corner and gives Nebraska a solid starter, and they can develop the depth and not have to move Hartzog back to corner, I think that bodes extremely well for Nebraska. So thankfully, Dakil Shorts and Addison Williams are listening to the Average Joe Sports Show at 5:00.
It's good somebody is. We're proud of that. Proud of that. On a very serious note, Corn Raider says Super Trooper Elijah needs to give me a ticket to Mexico or a frisking if he tries to add fruit to a Modelo. Corona is crap and needs it. Modelo is great on its own. Quit being a girl. I love that.
Man, he was holding on to that card for the last 24 hours.
But sometimes I need a talking to, Corn Raider. I'm not going to say no to a tasty Modelo for $17.95. Mail order now.
I do have one sticking point here with those concession prices we saw yesterday, and we were going to get here at some point. So let me just dive right in. I don't necessarily have a problem with the prices of the beer. You kind of knew what was going to happen. You pay a premium to have your beer in the stadium. It's both money making and crowd control to have beers that expensive, because you know what, you're gonna have to get a second mortgage if you want to black out at the Husker game. So that was
what happened in the fourth quarter. Don't know. Had too many $17 beers.
I do want to say someone needs to let the Aramark folks know how a combo works. Did you guys notice that the price of a Runza plus a beer was the exact same price in the combo as if you ordered them individually?
They did the math for you.
So I used to be in that world let's just, here's the reality. And again, I think beer being served in Memorial Stadium is overrated. I don't think it's a thing. I saw a lot of people drinking last night, but it's not, I think we're making too much of it. Not us here, but it's Memorial Stadium is a professional sports venue now. And the sooner you can accept that, the better. The prices actually for beer are pretty much on par with Baxter Arena in Omaha or the CHI Center. Maybe like the Mick Ultra, which I think was $12, like a Bud Light was $11. Okay, so maybe that's $1 more. But Memorial Stadium is a professional sports venue, which doesn't charge East Coast prices for beer. But the combo thing, Elijah, you're absolutely right. And so being formerly in professional sports, it's a mind trick. So you look at it and go, oh, it's a combo, so it must be saving. The only savings is the hot dog thing, which I don't know why they won't call them red dyes, but they call them red dogs. That's okay. you save 50 cents. But you're right. The Mick Ultra and the Runza is the same exact price. It's all a mind trick that they do when you put those digital menu boards up, because you look at it and go, "Ooh, a combo, I'm saving something." And you don't sit there in real time and do the math. But you're absolutely right. But I think Memorial Stadium is moving into a professional sports venue. It sucks because that was the lure of, hey, it's the mom and pop shop. But, to make money, you have to go from Nebraska thinks they can go from making $69 million a year off of things that are in Memorial Stadium to $96 million.
Well, and every penny counts in the world of college football in 2025. I mean, Nebraska's been exemplary with what they've been able to do from a funding and saving and spending standpoint. Think about everyone, the Husker football retirement plan so many folks have been a part of over the last 2 decades. You get paid to go away, and then you double down and spend more to bring in. So whatever it takes, man, and folks will enjoy it. Some more comments here. Jack is in. You have Jeff Snitley here. Michael is in. Walter is pissed we were late again. That was my fault. Blame the dogs. Thomas dying to hear practice news as we got going, and that was a good bird's eye view from one Gary Sharp, who was in attendance. Charles here. Bruce from Spearfish. Vic is in. Vic, good to have you. Uncle Larry's here. Arlo, Kobe, good to have Kobe. And then all for NU. He's commenting and kind of echoing some of your thoughts, Sharpie, with the fact it was an actual practice. And he'll use some of it for his drills with the team that all for NU is coaching. Good work.
Again, I was a little bit surprised there weren't more people, because it was their practice. Last year it was kind of a showcase, kind of the first time you show off some guys. Rules kind of like the MC. It was just they went straight to practice. Now their practice tempo is pretty impressive. I mean, there is no downtime, but I don't know in the future how they figure out how do you get more people there. But I definitely, the people that were there last night, you got a nice taste of everything. One other thing, and I'm curious, we've talked about this. How do we feel about linebackers? Because they aren't getting talked about enough. But I think Mr. Watson Trent, who was a good football player at Georgia Southern, he's a tiny guy, dude. Shavers is Shavers, and I think he's going to be a pass rushing demon. And Javen Wright is going to be, he's the kind of guy you need to cover tight ends in the Big Ten and an all Big 12 tight end, less than a month from now. But I don't know about the linebackers. I mean, we don't talk a lot about them, but there's not like, I don't know. They didn't really stand out to me last night.
Well,
he's listed.
You got your front line, right?
He's listed, by the way, 5'11", 225. So that means probably 5'9" and 3/4, 5'10", and 215.
Yeah. So you've got Shavers, you've got Buddha.
That's the combo pack.
Watson Trent. You've got Bauer, okay, that gets some mentions. And who by the way,
Schmitty. Hey, Schmitty, Jacob Bauer won't go away.
No, he won't.
He was running with the ones last night. He's like a guy that you're like, who is this guy? I mean, everybody talks about him, and you go, wait a minute, did he just show up one day? But yeah, last night he was running with the ones at linebacker. He won't go away.
That's a good thing when you lay out the depth or the question marks of depth. And listen, I think we're part of the Dvorak fan club. I think the way he's developed linebackers has been impressive. The linebacker room has always come back and delivered, at least in the 2 years that he's been at the helm there. Whoever's up next, whoever has to fill in at some point for Shavers or Watson Trent or Buddha Wright, you're going to have plenty of reps and presumably be ready. What's the drop off in speed and athleticism? Can't tell you. What's your take on Christian Jones? Is it too much to ask him to be a guy that they look at or lean on at some point this season for coverage duties? I mean, is it going to be too much too soon to implement him into the rotation if things are within his grasp? I mean, if he earns it.
Yeah, go ahead. You know more.
No. He's a good player. He's a young
early.
guy. Yeah, it's early.
Didn't Rule say yesterday in his press conference or his pre-practice presser, that it's not necessarily about first and second units, especially at the linebacker position. It's, who can get there? You might have, guys who are listed first, second, third, but if they're best for a certain package or by feel, you might have 2 or 3 guys on there that are playing different positions and coming from, different spots on the field from the linebacker spot. Yeah. So it seemed like it was much more of a mix and match that when you take a look at the depth chart and the jacks and the safeties and the corn, all that stuff, all the different names of the positions, he alluded to again, and even said it's become a cliche in football, the positionless player. 2 or 3 years ago, that was kind of that's a unique thing to talk about. But now I always say it's a cliche. So with some of those linebackers, I think, it may just be that you're going to see a lot of them on the field. Maybe I shouldn't say a lot, but more than you would expect on the field at the same time, just because that's the way Butler wants to play it.
Here's what you got at linebacker, right? I mean, you have Watson, Trent, Buddha, McCullough in that mix, or your options along with Shavers, McGahee, and Bauer. That's kind of your top 6 right now. And after that, who do you got as your run stopper, your run plugger? Who can do both? We know that Buddha's specialty is in that coverage, but he's also got some size and speed to seal an edge for you. But that's not a long list. That's not 17 offensive linemen. That's not 20 defensive backs. But you have a little bit of a smaller roster. So moving forward.
I think Dvorak at the linebacker spot he's earned trust, right?
For me, he has, yeah.
No, he has.
Especially with the way Bullock's played.
And that's what I was going to go to is you look at Watson Trenton. Is he physically imposing? No, not really. But you watch his film last year, one of those guys that seems to read the play before everyone else, and he's in the right place at the right time. So we'll see if that translates or not. But I just think, generally speaking, Dvorak, I mean, Bullock was the same way, where he wasn't super physically imposing looking, but ended up being a fine player for Nebraska. I think he's earned some trust. I think he's got some better athletes in that room. Whenever I look at Javen Wright and I look at Vincent Shavers, and I'm not going to sound the alarm bell in the linebacker position just yet, because what Dvorak has done during his time at Nebraska has earned him some trust from me.
And if you can get to the ball and make a tackle, then you're going to play. Mm-hmm. If you get to the ball and can't make a tackle, you're not going to play. That's the way it should be. And they should be allowed to tackle more than 8 practices in fall camp.
That's
that to me, listening to Rule talk about that, and look, I've known it. We all know it. And we've seen it for years, how sloppy football is in the first month of the season because guys don't tackle. You would think the NCAA, with all of its, I'm not going to say what it has, but that they would have figured out by now that you actually, it's better to have some popping of the pads and tackling than to limit it and then automatically go full speed week 1 or week 0. It's healthier to do some hitting than to pull up and play 75% and then all of a sudden have to go a million miles an hour. There are plenty of studies out there, that say it's healthier, and it also leads to surer tackling in the game, and players are safer than whatever it is that they got going now.
The other noticeable thing last night, because they were going more full speed than they were on Monday, is this team is faster. That's been my biggest thing of, 2 years, you guys are bringing up Bullocks at linebacker. You can't have – that guy can't be on the field nowadays for 60, 70 plays and think that he's going to be able to keep up with the speed in the Big Ten when you're playing the Ohio States and the Penn States of the world. they're definitely on offense and defense faster. They are considerably faster, which is kudos to Corey Campbell, because I didn't think the first 2 years they necessarily looked football fast. Some guys might run a good 40, but they look faster, like in football activities. One other thing, and maybe we'll get to this. Yesterday also reiterated why you hired Mike Eckler. And I'll just leave it at that. You hired Mike Eckler. You got one of the best special teams coaches in the country for a reason. They will be better at special teams. Now, they didn't show a lot last night, but you have the vibe that it's not just, well, they can't be any friggin' worse than they were last year. They will be noticeable in their success.
So let me ask you, if you were to say, okay, they're going to be better, that's awesome. Where are you buying stock in special teams? Is it the kicking game? Is it the return game? Is it the coverage part? What do you feel good about?
So I'm glad you brought up the last part. Archie Wilson is a freak. He's a unique guy who, I wonder if he wakes up in the morning, eats Vegemite sandwiches, and if his whole world is upside down, because it's going to be cold here when it's warm back home. But there's that guy has me hooked. What they can do with him. All three place kickers last night. So they had like a kickoff, and it was, what did they do, about 30 to 45 yards in that range. And they were all really good. I'm glad that Alvano is staying in the fight, but Cunanan looks to have the strongest leg. So possibly he's your place kicker, and there's a whole element in there as well. But I think their coverage units will be better. I just think this football team will be a smarter football team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think the football IQ is better, but I think the coverage units will be smarter and will be more talented. I also very curious on what they do. So they didn't do a lot of special teams last night, but they had returning punts. Barney was first up. Andrew Marshall, who had return kicks at Idaho. I think Hartzog was back there, and then Caleb Benning. Okay. But I think they'll be better in the coverage unit. But Archie Wilson is why you hire Mike Eckler.
Did you hear what Ja'Cory Barney said about him a couple days ago, where he's talking about the fact that just walking around the facility, he's like always kicking a football around. Just one of those guys that is, as Gary said, a bit of a freak about his craft.
So is it just like dodgeball? Archie, the Australian's walking around the hallway, drop kicks it, and you better duck out of the way or catch it. I mean, is it a little dodgeball going on?
Sounds like a Sports Center commercial or something.
Right.
I mean,
the elevator with Herbie.
If you didn't, like there was when they did the portion of the practice where there was punting involved. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is kind of like a little buzz. I mean, people are like, okay, did he just kick with his left foot and then turned around and did his right foot? And is he ambipedal? Which is the way to describe what he does. And you go, yes, he is. Guys, you saw it on Monday. It's like wild to see. And it's not like it's a freak show from the point of, he's going to be at the Nebraska State Fair behind a window and people are going to stare at him. Like he can actually kick with both feet. And think about, if you have the mind of Eckler and the coverage unit will be smarter, think of what you could do. Think of what it does to like your play calling on third down. Like you're like, oh my God, we got to get a first down because we don't have a punter. Now you might go, okay, if we don't get a third down, if we don't get a first down, it's okay. We're going to help out our defense with a guy that is, a walking Australian.
We got to set up for the punt, guys. We have got to set up for the punt. So I was surprised when Rule talked about him. Was it Monday now? Gosh, all the press conferences. And he said, well, he can throw and he can run. And I'm like, I rewound it. Like, did I miss something? Was he talking about Latif? Was he talking about Makai Nelson? Who's he talking about? Like, was there an edit and a jump cut? He's talking about the punter being able to throw and run. I've never heard that before. In all my years of watching football, where we're analyzing how well the punter can throw and run. And I'm like, why don't you keep that under your hat? Right. I don't know that's going to have special teams coordinator's a little bit off balance, and Cincinnati has a new special teams coordinator. So now you got to think about it. But wouldn't you rather spring that ace when you can, as opposed to letting them know, hey, the punter might be able to do this?
Well, I want to know with all that pure athletic ability he apparently has, what's the story? Why was Aussie rules football not for him, and why is he coming over to America? That's a story I want to know. And that's no offense to him. Like, I'm just actually wondering.
Probably make more money over here.
Yeah.
So this is the backstory. They were on to him like during the Husker game weekend. They had him, but they wanted to keep him. First of all, they had to get everything in line for him to get into the country and get into school. But the couple of days before the Husker games, they circulated around the facility, hey, this is the guy that Eckler wants, and this is who's coming here. And so people were going to their computers and looking up his video. And there really wasn't a lot of punting video. There was a lot more rugby stuff. But this is how it works. And this is, look at Iowa. Iowa's had success with Australian punters. I believe that Notre Dame last year had a punter that was from Australia. He wasn't good at the beginning, but he was much better in the end. You go to Pro Kick Australia, and it's basically like shopping online. And Nebraska says, we want a rugby-style punter. We're Nebraska. This is what we want. Who do you have?
Kick with
It's
both
like
feet.
it's like a dating app. It's like a dating app for Australian punters. But Pro Kick Australia is what it is. And Eckler has a relationship with him. And he basically said, we need a guy. And so, whoever is the agent down there is like, you ever heard of a guy named Archie Wilson? And Eckler goes, not a friggin' chance, but is he good? And the guy goes, he's great. Eckler says, have him learn Lincoln, Nebraska. And that's kind of how it works. And so that's why I keep saying Archie Wilson is why you hire Mike Eckler, and the connections you have in Australia, where Pro Kick Australia has like this major hit rate of sending Australian punters to American colleges, and they do really well.
And then they go play on Sundays. A lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you could also have Archie call Jazz Shelley and all the Australian women's basketball players Nebraska's had, and you've got referrals right there.
Now, the other thing is he's pretty good sized. Like, we know that some point in his career, he's going to pop some returner.
Well, could he play linebacker? He wear two hats. I'm kind of kidding, but I want to ask you, Sharpie, about the receiving room. I know Cortez Mills had some plays last night that oohed and awed, but you also some of the names we've followed, and Quinn Clark and Keelan Smith, of course, two Husker legacies. Also Jeremiah Jones. Anything stick out? Also Hunter. I know he took a nasty spill, but was okay. But
yes, he did.
So explain the spill and talk about the receiver room, if you don't mind. Just some impressions there beyond the edge block.
Yeah. So Hunter ran into the back, where they have the padding on the wall in the back of the end zone. He ran kind of full speed into it. He was okay, but man, it was like all of a sudden it got really, really quiet, and because he was down. Yeah. And like Raiola runs over there and the other trainers, so he's fine. Keelan Smith looked really good last night. Their future at that position is really good. Now, Mills, I think, is going to be a 50-50 guy in terms of 50-50 balls. Now, you don't want a lot of 50-50 balls, but he's a guy that's going to go fight for balls. And I think the defensive backs at Nebraska will make the wide receivers better, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. But right now, the defensive backs are just under the skin of the wide receivers. I mean, they're leaning on them, they're grabbing them, and you have to fight for everything, which I think will make the wide receivers better. And hopefully, as this translates into the season, without the flags, you can be physical and it becomes an advantage. But their future at wide receiver, from Keelan Smith, don't forget about Quinn Clark. Quinn Clark looked really good last night, but physically he looks good. And then Jeremiah Jones is, where do you have to find a spot? Bonner's an interesting guy that we continue to talk about because there's something there, but where does he play? And going back to something Elijah and Bill have alluded to this morning, the positionless football, but Nebraska's big this year on situational football. So there might be guys that are just situational. They're not in your regular rotation, But when it's 3rd down and 6, hey, Bonner, let's go. This is your time to shine. That'll be interesting to watch. But they have the wide receiver room, I think, is in a really good spot. Now, Key was riding the fat kid bike last night, but he's not fat. So he was only on the I'm dinged up bike. He's good. He's fine. He's fine. It's nothing major. But the rest of the guys, like Barney is Barney. Hunter's got a battle on his hands. But Cortez Mills is everything you wanted when you recruited him and you read all of his accolades. So
they have thrived with some of the Florida kids they've brought in. They've been guys that have produced and performed a little bit, and you're looking for a bigger jump from Barney. Of course, you've got young options in Mills. We know about McGahee with what he brought off the edge at the jack spot, and so you need that Florida connection to hit. They play well. That leads to more Florida kids coming this way with the flavor Nebraska has. They've got 3 or 4 guys on staff from that Miami region. You have a pretty good roster number devoted to Florida talent, and you have success. It's going to be a great advertisement for Nebraska.
3 or 4 guys from Florida. Based on what I saw on all the videos yesterday, I think there must be 3 or 4 coaches for every player on the team. Oh my God. I remember being at a press conference last year and Rule was talking about his staff or something, and then all the technology that they had and the iPads and the tablets and whatnot. And I turned to my friend and I said, how the hell did Tom Osborne win 3 national championships in 255 games with 10 coaches and chalkboards? And the biggest innovation was the whiteboard. They had so many people on the field last night that were, and they've got really great tackling dummies. Those are some of the top of the line tackling dummies. But the number of people on that staff is mind boggling that are out there assisting assistant coaches or assisting the position coaches. And I never did see in any of the video that I watched last night and this morning, I never saw Rule on the field. I don't know where he was, but my God, there are so many people on that staff. And to the bigger picture, how sustainable is that when there are so many programs that are not going to be able to sustain their budgets? Nebraska is going to try to play as much as they can. But, we talked with Jerry DiNardo at football media days, and he's saying Ohio State $168 million, loss deficit. And Iowa State is $147 million into the red through 2030. And they suspended their reconstruction or renovations of Hawkeye Coliseum and additions to their wrestling program. I know this is an aside, but how can programs continue to employ in some way, shape, or another guys who are making anywhere from $10,000 to $10 million? I don't know how they do that.
You do it with $11 beers. That's
right, that gets back to
$7 runs.
But make it a Guinness, okay? I mean, I get $12 pricing, but Aquafina's $3.75 and Mick Ultra's $12. Isn't that pretty much the same thing?
Yeah.
And no Busch Light?
No, there is Busch Light.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many beers did you have last night, Sharpie?
I did not have any. I had a post-gathering beer.
Okay.
Much cheaper. I think the food prices all did go up $1. Again, this is now a professional sports venue, but the beer prices are in line with the other collegiate venues in this state. It's just going to catch people off guard a little bit. But
I get the prices, but my God, the number of people on the field that were not players, I was stunning.
So, Bill, you would have lost your mind because I thought the same thing. There are so many support personnel. Now you have an abundance of managers out there. You had equipment staff that was out there. You have front office staff that was out there. You have a lot of the analysts, GAs. By the way, Phil Snow, God, where does he get his energy? Phil Snow is a fascinating guy. They spent a lot of time working with the defensive backs, whether it be Phil Snow or John Butler. Bill, you would have lost your mind last night because they're everywhere. And then you throw on this. They video everything. It seems like every drill and every position group has its own video person. So everything shows up on video. Do you guys know the backstory? All the quarterbacks have a GoPro.
Okay.
So they're all wearing a GoPro in the middle of their helmet. I haven't heard the story on what they're intended, what they're trying to do with that.
I think it's kind of like virtual reality, clearly,
Okay.
where instead of asking them, what did you see? Let's go through the snap, the read, and
we see what you saw.
Yeah, why you threw that ball.
Yeah.
And then they can go back and say, all right, you were fooled here, you were late here, or so-and-so didn't get separation here. So it's high technology, but if you have it, use it, right? Because that's where I was going to go next is we know Dylan's Dylan, but any impressions at all from the rest of the quarterbacks?
I like TJ Lateef.
Yeah, good arm.
I think Gramstad, because of his experience, is number 2. And I mean, a month from now, he's probably still going to be number 2. There's something about TJ Lateef. Davila, okay, he didn't stand out, but like Lateef you can see that there is something there. He just needs to play football. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like a first depth chart, he's number 3, but I know that they want to redshirt him. But he's the one thing that also stood out last night is whether it be a Jeremiah Jones, whose story falls under the radar, Nebraska spent some money on him on signing day. I mean, they were going to lose him, and they said, not so fast. They wanted to keep him. The guys they brought in, and almost all of them were early enrollees, they all look the part. Like, they don't look out of place. I would love to see Parker, but he's on the shelf at running back. But really, their freshmen they brought in don't look overwhelmed. Like, physically, they look like, okay, they're young, they're 18-year-old bodies, but there's something there. And TJ Lateef, we've watched enough quarterbacks, and they were just doing, Dylan is the quarterback. I mean, he got almost all of the reps. But individual stuff they were doing with running backs where they were getting the ball out quick. Like Lateef has enough of a body of work of what he's done prior to Nebraska and what he's done here in 8 months that I think his upside is starting to grow. So he's one to watch. I would really love to see him play week 2 and week 3 to get on the field and have a couple of series against Akron and Houston Christian.
I'm not sure if it stands out to you as well, Gary. What stands out to me, and we haven't seen much of him, but in the few clips that I have gotten seen, very tight spiral, and that ball's got some zip when it comes out of his hands. Like it just feels a little bit different, frozen rope-esque whenever he throws that football. And is that the be-all end-all of quarterbacks? Yeah. No, not by any means, but something about how the ball leaves his hands just feels different than the other quarterbacks.
Now, remember back in the spring with whatever that deal they did instead of a spring game, the showcase or something, and it was so limited in what they saw of the scrimmaging and when he was out there, but the reviews weren't that great. It was like he was a little lost out there. Now, maybe it was because you've got a circus going on around you and John Cook trying to, rope a robotic horse and you're still trying to play football on the other side of the field. I don't know. But the reviews were that he looked raw and uncertain and, looked like a great athlete. So to hear in yesterday's more controlled setting that he looks like he can play the part, that's got to be encouraging. I was thinking about that because we rarely talk about what happens if. When we break the glass in case of emergency, and any freak thing could happen to 15. And they don't talk about Davila. You don't talk much about Lateef. The most talked about quarterback at Nebraska, other than Dylan Raiola, is Trey Thompson, who's going into his junior year. Or Trey Taylor.
Yeah.
Taylor?
Does like the saga of Lateef, saga is probably not the right word, but does it not underscore how special it was Dylan coming in last year and taking the reins of that offense so early? I mean, in spring football, you knew, that guy's a little bit different.
It's your best option.
does that not understand? Like Latif comes in and yeah, he's got a great arm on him, but he struggled a little bit in spring, had to learn the ropes of the offense. He's getting comfortable now. I mean, Dylan stepped in and from day one of spring football was the guy. He was the guy at quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think that also kind of makes me wonder with another full off season to continue getting up to the pace of a college game, which he had it figured out by last year, but another full off season to go back and look at everything that happened last season, just work on yourself, what he can be in a second year. Because
It's so rare to survive it, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't forecast a sophomore slump in any way, shape, or form.
Well, Dana's alluded to the mental part of the quarterback part and continuing to work on the quote upstairs. And really for Dylan and the other quarterbacks, man, is you get into this situation, you're uber ballyhooed, you can play, but it's such a higher level than you're used to, even coming from high level competition in high school. Speed of the game, the leadership aspect, knowing what your job is, knowing everyone else's job on offense. And then when you have your high, that's Colorado, your low, that is Indiana, and you really haven't dealt with the disaster like that before, because you're beating everybody 50 to 3 in high school. Yeah. So you got to deal with the confidence part of it. So that's where I'm anxious to see Dylan for sure, but also Latif continue to get groomed.
Hey, I know we haven't even played a game in 25. The 26 quarterback room will be fantastic because let's say everybody stays. Okay, I'm just gonna assume they're all gonna stay. Dayton is probably a little bit riskier, but anybody that's been around him, he has a little bit more swag and personality than his brother. And they like him, you know. You're going to see him, the 14th on ESPN. Buford and Dalton are going to play in that brand new stadium, and it'll be on big ESPN. But you're going to have Latif, Dylan in what you hope is his last year, because if it's not, it kind of screws up your quarterback room. And you're going to have Dayton is going to be in there. So they're in a good spot, like handing the baton off at quarterback, you know, from Dylan to Latif / Dayton. And then here comes Trey Taylor in 27. It's just, you know, can you keep guys happy while Dylan is finishing his eligibility?
Well, you pay him to stay. I mean, figure out a way to do what Texas did, right, with Arch.
Yeah. Well, that's an important point, because you guys know this. They paid to keep Danny Kaelin last year. I mean, they said, hey, we know you're going to leave after this year, but can you stay for a season and we'll take care of you financially, and then we're going to help you find a spot.
Sure. That's part of the acquisition. That's part of the management. And look at what you're trying to get to. Oregon's not necessarily recruited out of high school and developed. They have gone shopping, but they've hit on their last 2 transfer quarterbacks to put them in position for a playoff run. And then look at the succession of what Ohio State's done. I mean, they're killing it at receiver and they're killing it at quarterback.
Well, you hope that it's just like a pipeline. Like Dylan carries the torch into the NFL, and we don't talk about Bruce Matheson anymore. And then you recruit to Dylan coming here that, hey, the people we have in place, and you hope, you know, how long is Holgerson going to stay post Dylan? These are guys that are, you know, we're sending off to the NFL, and all of a sudden Nebraska's got a position group which is completely different in terms of the style you play that is attractive to the NFL. Here's one funny thing that happened last night. So you guys have seen, and we talked about this ad nauseum. Dylan's body looks different. Okay, he's still got a funky body, but he's not as
husky,
doughy,
dad bodish, yeah, doughy would be the way to describe it. So he ran last night, and people were like, "Oh."
And then Dana ran over and said, "Don't do that again."
Was it short side? I mean, was there a fullback fake, reverse pivot, and then you go down the line and a late pitch?
No, he got out of the pocket and ran just a little bit,
scrambled a bit.
Yeah, but people were like, "Oh my gosh!"
That's there's cheers and nervous energy and sounds coming from the 2,500 and faithful at Memorial Stadium. What did you take away from the tight end room? We know Mac Markway was the news this week from an injury standpoint, but you still got. Of course, Lindenmeyer had a nice touchdown catch, it looked like. And then Carter Nelson. I mean, the guy's able to, it looks like Sharpie, move with the weight he's added and be pretty explosive.
So we didn't get into this yesterday. Can you really miss something you don't have? And that might sound harsh talking about Markway, but you didn't have it, so you don't know what you missed. And somebody that gets injured a practice into the season better than the middle of the season when you've designed stuff for them. That's a good tight end room. I mean, Harburg's a tank, that runs like a motorcycle. I mean, he has that look. They love Lindenmeyer, by the way. They feature Lindenmeyer a lot. And then Carter Nelson is that he's like, I don't know, Harburg, do they have true tight ends? Or do they have guys that are H-backs that are going to be involved in the passing game? That's the thing is, can Harburg enjoy contact?
You're still getting used to it,
Yeah, not the kind of contact when you get hit, but just banging and banging and banging. If he can get used to that and comfortable with that, then that's a huge step forward. But that's a really good room that's got some options. I mean, Dylan's got some mouths to feed, guys. I mean, there's plenty of guys that are capable in the passing game, and we haven't even talked about guys coming out of the backfield.
Well, you've got the Mosey move that's interesting and pretty exciting. Booth and Nelson. And there's been a lot of buzz about Nelson. Apparently, Dana didn't have to kick Mackay in the backside last night. He had a good practice from your observations.
Yeah, he's the number 2 running back.
Yeah.
Even if Ives comes back.
Okay.
I mean, Ives, hello, here, I'm Wally Pipp. Nice to meet you.
So I want to ask
but they don't. Someone asked in the stream, and this is, again, I like Parker coming out of St. Louis. The guy hadn't been on the field. And while that's been happening, Mackay Nelson, who was supposed to go to a prep school, comes to Nebraska a year early, and he kind of, we're spoiled around here for the running backs that we like and that we've seen, and Nebraska really doesn't have any of them. But I agree with, and I'd have to scroll back up, someone brought it up in the stream. I think Nebraska has good Dana Holgorsen running backs.
Yeah.
And then they have Tavon Austin, who is Mr. Mosey.
You're making that comparison.
Well, so I don't think he'll have that monster.
Will Mosey have his Oklahoma game?
If he does, there will be people that will be fully husked for weeks around here. Okay, there will be men's medical clinics that will print money if he has a game like Tavon Austin had against Oklahoma. Because didn't he run for like 349 in that game and had 500 yards of total offense?
Yeah, he had like 85 yards receiving and then 3 bills on 25 carries.
Yeah,
2 touchdowns, and you lose a shootout in Big 12 fashion, 50-49.
I think he'll have that kind of a role where he can do both. Like, I wouldn't put Mosey on the running back depth chart. I think he's just kind of a X guy.
Okay,
he'll carry the ball, he'll catch the ball, but he's not like the other running backs. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
Would you go wing back with him?
I don't, until I see him pulling Abdul Muhammad and just blow somebody up on the edge. Maybe not, but it might. I mean, do you guys think that he is the epitome of a Dana Holgorsen situational guy?
I think he is somebody that Dana looks at from a size and speed standpoint and just a football knowledge and goes, all right, young buck, it's not too big for you right now. And I think he probably drools at the matchup opportunities. You can run it and catch it, and good luck, either staying with him or trying to corral him because he's got that combo of speed and shiftiness. So, and the size. So.
I don't think you make that move to the running back position unless you have a vision in place for what you want him to be. Not long term here. I think in 2025, like a guy that you're making that move to give yourself a benefit in 2025, not in 2027 after some development time. He's going to be used in the offense this season.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. You don't tell a guy here's what we want to do with you in a year or two. The opportunity is there, especially on a young team. We all forget that a little bit, that they're 125 guys, well, minus about 10 because they're on the list, or they're in Chicago or Switzerland having their knee looked at, but that's another side. But when you have 120 plus players on your roster and 80 of them are in their first, second, or third year of college, true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, or sophomores, that's a lot of young players on that roster, that you're going to have to play them. And if you're going to get the opportunity and they're going to be told, we're going to move you someplace. Now I know your dad's there and you're sticking around, or you're there because of your dad, but okay, I'll make this move, but I want to make sure that you're utilizing me so that I can showcase what I can do, and not wait around another year.
By the way, shout out Charles dropping a "But Still Our Heart," Dana Brinson.
Yes.
Who was a very, very popular player.
Number 33?
Yes. 33. I mean, Dana Brinson, Tyrone Hughes.
Yeah. Return magic.
So did it, okay, when DeKale Shorts spoke on Friday, the whole story around Mosey has been that he requested to move. Didn't it seem like he was stolen from the wide receiver room as a safety valve for the lack of, what do we have at running back? Didn't it kind of, wasn't that the tone?
Here's what happens. Dana walks into your office after seeing this kid play a little bit. Says, we got to talk. I'm taking Mosey, and you can't do a thing about it.
I got you this job.
That was a conversation, probably.
Well, we haven't even talked about Shorts.
Balls out of the backfield.
We haven't even talked about Shorts. He went up to the podium the other day, and I was like, wow, what wide receiver is that? He looked like he'd still be out there playing.
He's the anti-Cam Lenhart. Every time Cam Lenhart gets up there, I go, who's that coach? And Shorts gets up there and said, what position is this guy playing?
If I'm 1890, it is incumbent that we get Cam Lenhart a minivan deal. I mean, just everyone's got Jeeps or trucks or sports cars, and then there's the minivan, Cam Lenhart.
It's Cam Lenhart in the Chrysler Town and Country.
Yeah, and you can load that bastard up, with kids, gear, and make the cross country trek with the tribe.
Yeah, they do have. Bill alluded to the 80 plus that they have that are first, second, or third year players. They do have some guys that this is like the third year. Like you're like, wow, Cam Lenhart's been in the program actually for a while, but he's only been here for 2 years. Like, I mean, they have some guys that all of a sudden are like, oh, Lutovsky is still here. Oh, okay. Justin Evans still here. Now those guys are, definite starters. But they haven't, it's just a really interesting mix of this roster. Like they have some young guys, but young guys that have played football and now are going to get to play a lot more, and get thrown into the fire. And how do they do it first blush? At Arrowhead on a Thursday night. That's still the mystery out there, is how do guys respond when their number is called first up and they don't have a chance to get into a lather watching on the sidelines?
Well, be ready for sure. Easier said than done. I like the mentality, though. I know it's a narrative about how that Rule has guys that like practice, but with that being true, I mean, it'll really set in to get you prepared for the game. And then even if you're not starting, the development work you've done the Monday through Thursday, that preparation will get you ready for presumably when your number's called. Now, I mean, it's going to be important, and I'm anxious to see that year 3 of Cam Lenhart like good freshman year, got dinged a little bit last year, and now you and Van Pop guys have been together. It's kind of your turn to take over. How does that line get led by both of you? Same with McGahee. As young as he was last year, it didn't phase him in big games with what he was asked to do. And he showed up and can McGahee be one of those leaders? And he's got a guy that's been around the block at Oklahoma and Indiana and McCullough to learn from too. So you got a good situation there where, all right, it's not totally on a McGahee to be a game wrecker in season 2. You've got out in the portal and brought in a guy like McCullough.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you're 6'5", 270, you're playing edge rusher at Nebraska. Almost all of them look exactly the same size.
What about Winery? Any thought on from him last night?
He was no. I mean,
was there didn't wow.
Yeah. See, I don't have much. I don't have this year.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have huge expectations for him.
Okay.
Wow, I do. I think he's got to be. I get my litmus test. My measuring stick is O'Shawn Mathis, and Winery's got to come in with whatever they're paying him to be the first guy out of the portal to come in and to play rush position. I think he has to be an impact maker at that rush position. He's got to get to the quarterback. He's got to be a disruptor. At the very least, be a disruptor. Because if you're coming from Missouri, an SEC school, and a 5-star, and there's money in the pocket now, you got to perform now. There's no time to wait around, especially if there's 75% of your roster is just as old as you are.
Well, get him ready. Just because he's got a year under his belt.
And we talk about McGahee a lot. He wasn't thrown into there right away to where he got some. It was obvious he wasn't going to be a 4-game guy or something like this. But it was the second half of the season where all of a sudden you started to see WMG4, start to get out there and be a regular in the rotation. He wasn't out there day one. He might have had some plays, but he was an impact player the second half of the season, and especially the last quarter of the season, that he was assimilated in and allowed to grow, and then given time and given snaps, and then he made an impact. Maybe that's the path for Winery, but I think he has to be a guy who's got to be a disruptor.
Well, with McGahee, he got better, man, as the year kept going, to your point. And you had options. You had Sherman, you had Prince Will, and now you have McGahee that's remaining. So,
but you also have, it's not like he just walked in and there was a job to be had. I mean, they have some guys.
They do.
At that position.
Right.
Let me. Somebody just asked about a particular tight end.
Number 48. Yeah.
It's Echternak from Bellevue West.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was good on the edge.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to need a definite that's what they'll need to find somebody who would have played the Mark Way role of more of a inline blocker. Now, let me pose this to you guys, and I'll sit back and I'll watch this chat. and I'm watching the offensive line last night. Pritchett is in a battle, but he was primarily, when they would run drills, he would be with the ones. What if Nebraska's first snap at Arrowhead in 3+ weeks? Left tackle, Gunnar Gatula, right tackle, Teddy Prohaska.
That'd be a win for Teddy. That'd be a great story. And most importantly, with the number of options they have at right tackle right now, that'd be who Donnie thinks is ready to go. And you play the best, not who you've paid the most to. So give me your 5 best, your 5 most cohesive, and give me the guys that can protect Dylan, but also run block. And I think you're going to have, Sharpie, I think you're going to have rotation. I mean, you're going to be able to on a third series, bring in Pritchett or Gatula or Kanak or Teddy or Dana talked about they have 10 linemen that are, he said, serviceable, I think he feels pretty good about them. So rotate him in and let him go hurt somebody.
Well, and that's the one concern with Prohashka is the injury history. But if you feel good about the depth that you have there, yeah, you play the best 5. And injuries are going to happen in the Big Ten along the offensive line, so you better have some good depth. But everything you hear, it sounds like they feel comfortable with their 2 deep on that offensive line, that any one of those 10 guys can get out there and get some snaps, and you feel comfortable with it. Because the starting 5 that you have whenever you roll out at Arrowhead will not be your starting 5 for every single game this season. It's just the reality of the rough and tumble nature of the lines of scrimmage in the Big Ten. Somebody is going to go down with an injury at some point this season. You pray it's not significant, but other guys are going to have to rotate in because that's just playing offensive line.
Sledge and Machacek too.
And keep an eye on Gibson Pyle.
Yes.
And that's what sucks about Teddy. And you know, like a lot of us that talk about Teddy, especially if we've covered high school football, we know Teddy as the person. Okay, and so we saw him play at Elkhorn South, and he's a great guy. I mean, he legitimately is just a good dude who has played 19 games in his career at Nebraska, and you're always waiting for that next snap that he's going to be the guy that's in a heap on the ground and he's injured again. He's a different type of body. I mean, he's 6'10", so he's had that weight on those knees. This is the sleekest that he has looked, and he's still 6'10", 315, but it looks like a sleek 315. I think I would love to see Teddy get a start. That would be great. I'd love to see first and foremost Teddy, whether he's starting, spotting guys, he gets all 12 games in. But the other guy I mentioned, I think Gatula is one of your starters. I don't, the way that Gatula has attacked the first week, and Kanak was a popular guy because Gatula was down. Kanak has played 34 snaps in college. Gatula started last year, and we didn't really go, oh, that guy is not, a game here or there, situation late gamer here or there. But I think Gatula to me looks different than he did even at the end of last year. And I think he's got one of your tackle spots.
Now, he's kind of the opposite of what I was saying about McGahee, because Gatula got thrown into that starting spot out of necessity. That was break glass in case of emergency when Teddy and then Corcoran goes down. And we don't talk much about Corcoran anymore because he was on the list, right, at the beginning in press conference. But Gatula was thrown in there, and there was a lot of attention on him. People are watching the ball get snapped and no longer looking at Dylan Raiola, but they're looking at that tackle position, like, how well is he holding up? How well is he holding up play after? And he played, I thought, incredibly well for somebody who goes from third to first. And now you go from, 13 snaps a game to just about all of them, and you got to stay healthy. And he didn't, right? He ended up getting hurt, but to do what he did as quickly as he had to adjust to being a starter was really pretty remarkable. So, I would not be surprised if he's the guy on that side. But it's really going to, maybe the starting job is, honorary is not the right word. It's a tip of the cap. Who's getting the most snaps? At the end of the game, when you take a look at who got the most snaps at the position, it is Pritchett. Is it a big deal that he's the starter because he comes in from Alabama, got money in the transfer portal, so you got to play him? And is he starting and then playing 30 snaps a game? Or is he actually a dominant offensive lineman who is going to be getting 50, 60 offensive snaps a game because he's absolutely the best? Or are they going to be, really rotating guys in and out? Because there will be an injury or two, and you're going to be, my God, thankfully they have depth now, which they did not have a couple of years ago, as we talked about yesterday.
Offensive line, will they be better run blockers or pass blockers?
Well, I think at first glance, their strength may be run blocking. I mean, that's what Pritchett does best. We know Rocco's kind of a road grader. Evans is somebody you like. Of course, Henry. All 5 that we think are there are really talented run blockers. They're pretty physical. and they can get downhill if you want to move the ball that way. I'm not concerned though. With Nebraska will figure out how to protect Dylan. Either an extra tight end, they'll have the right guy in the backfield. They'll find somebody for the Ramir role that was good at pass pro, and then the tackles better be ready to go. Are they going to be perfect? No, there's too many good edge guys in Big Ten play, but they'll be better. And if somebody's not getting it done, fellas, they have other options to go to.
You got to have good blocking backs. You know, that who's your number 2 back, who's your number 3 back is also going to be predicated not just on can they get you, 20 to 50 yards per game, but they got to be able to step up in the hole and make some blocks.
I think that's
and get that linebacker, because there are going to be defenses that are going to try to put a lot of pressure on Raiola and make him beat them quickly. And if you've got guys that are willing to step up and make the hit. I mean, I can't remember. There were a couple of plays last year where I don't think it was Dowdell. Maybe it was Emmett, where you saw running backs who were willing to hit linebackers coming in and giving some extra protection. And that's going to help Nebraska's pass game, is having willing blockers, just like I talk about on the perimeter with wide receivers. If a running back's going to block, he's going to carry the rock.
Yeah, I know it was just, like Monday and then yesterday, and Dana kind of alluded to the way he wants his offense to work, and maybe it's a dink and dunk and then we're going to pop you over the top offense, but it looks considerably quicker in getting the ball out. Like, I don't think you're going to have these long developing routes that are going to be run. I think it's guys, they like the speed on the outside. The guys are going to get to their spot quickly, so that Dylan doesn't have to sit back there for 5 to 7 seconds. I think, and if you look at pass pro, I mean, the sooner that ball is out, the better. I just, like last night, they ran a couple of drills where the ball is out, like boom. It's like boom, guys are to their spot where they got to run, whether they're whether they're, an out or whatever, and the ball is out. That's something you didn't notice last year. And I think that comes with a year of experience and maybe just paring down the offense to do what they do well. And that is, I believe this team will be able to play well in space. But if Dylan can play the simple guys pitch and catch, what it will do for this offense, because then you can pop guys over the top when you're just nickeling and diming them to death, and they're not expecting that because everybody has moved up. But if Dylan can just play pitch and catch, when we talked about with Adrian, if Adrian could have just played a simple pitch and catch game and just get the ball out and get guys in space where you get a blocker on the outside and then let that receiver just weave his way, what that would have done. We never really saw that last year because Nebraska was so poor on the perimeter.
Well, it's been emphasized, it's been demanded that you're not going to be weak on the perimeter anymore. And yeah, I mean, the rhythm part is so important. And you didn't get a lot of rhythm on offense. It was so choppy for a lot of last season. When you did see it get in rhythm, it was, mainly the Wisconsin game. It was nice. And if you can do that more times than not next season or this season, with a defense that's going to be aggressive and a special teams unit that's competent and can make things a little bit difficult on the opposing offense from a field position standpoint, all that comes together to put you in position. Want to wind it down with this, fellas, and how do you feel about the home schedule? And is there kind of a mandatory for you when you look at some of the big opportunities? You've got Michigan, you have USC, you have Iowa, all right? And I'm not leaving out Sparty or Northwestern for the hell of it, but you got 3 brands that you're taking on that the eyes will be on you. Do you believe Nebraska can have an unbeaten home season, or at the very minimum go 2-1 in Memorial Stadium this year against some of the big name teams coming in? I mean, that will do a lot for your program and not only your conference standing, but you beat a USC, you beat a Michigan, you beat an Iowa at home. Do you expect them to do that?
Well, if they do that, they'll be in the playoff,
or
first
at least
and foremost.
Mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the probably maybe one of the best home seasons of all time if you beat 3 hats like that. People will get their money's worth no matter how much they're paying for a Michelob Ultra. So
you'll drink it out of joy instead.
Hey, Bill, you're onto something here. Why does Mich Ultra cost $1 more than Bud Light?
Or $9 more than Aquafina? Look, I think the Michigan game is not just a helmet game; it's a head game. That should not be a Jim Harbaugh, I don't want to say feared, respected Michigan team. It's still Michigan. They have great athletes, great players, but this is still getting to the Sharon Moore era of Michigan football. And he's decided to take the game off. I'm not big into bulletin board material, pregame speeches and all that, although if we die is great. But the coach decides, I'm going to take that day off because I got in trouble. That ought to stick in your head like, wait a minute here. Then we're going to make this day miserable for you. That is an ultimate diss that I feel like I can take the day off in your stadium. You better beat Michigan, not just and not think about the hat or the name. That's disrespectful to me. The Michigan State game, to me, Nebraska's fortunate that if they do beat Michigan, they don't have the celebration hangover, and then got to play again the next week against a team that could be much improved. So you can get refocused. I think that's going to be a tough game. USC should have beaten them last year in the Coliseum. Didn't get it done. You don't want to see USC come into town and do what UCLA did. That's a hat game too. And Iowa, oh my God, if you can't get up after what they've done to you the last decade and 13-10s and all that, then that's a lost cause. You lose to Iowa, it's a lost season.
Does anyone know off the top of their head the last time Nebraska had an undefeated home season?
16.
Barack Obama was in the White House.
It's 2016.
Everything goes back to 2016 because that was the last time Nebraska beat a ranked team. Is that correct?
Yep, Oregon.
Okay.
That was a freaking decade ago.
Well, Chris, pull up a chair. Let's talk about the last 9 years of Nebraska football. Do you guys want to sing a song with me? You ready?
No.
Hail to the victors valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan. Why are we not rooting for Michigan to beat Oklahoma, guys?
I am.
Because I want to paint a scenario for you. Now, you can't run away from
ranked Michigan comes to Memorial Stadium.
If we're going to play, is Nebraska the Indiana of 2025? And there is the possibility, because you've been given an opportunity with your schedule to navigate easier than you have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see a scenario where Nebraska is just like Indiana last year, and Nebraska does not play a ranked team until the next to last game of the season when they go to Penn State? Indiana didn't face a ranked team until they went to Columbus and played number 2 Ohio State. They won every game at home, but that could be the scenario for Nebraska. Now, it could either be good or bad for you, but I don't know why people are like, hey, man, I hope Michigan wins at Oklahoma. I want Michigan to roll in here unbeaten. I want that because that's the signature. That's the first rule in Raiola's signature victory. You got that one on the ledger, and they were a ranked team, and you got that out of the way, and you can move forward. Because I do see if they lose, and I think the AP poll comes out tomorrow, Michigan will probably be 19th. If they lose at Oklahoma, they could come to Lincoln not ranked, and you wouldn't play a team that has a number next to their name maybe until Penn State.
And Nebraska might be.
So let's sing again.
Because they could be 3-0.
And Nebraska, I think if Nebraska's 3-0, they'll be ranked going into that game.
Well, that is going to be a game if Nebraska's 3-0 that national media has circled all week long. I know Indiana and Illinois is that weekend, but those teams had some great years last year. They ain't the helmets that are Nebraska and Michigan.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. There's going to be a week of lead up to that game. That's going to be one of the main events on that weekend. If Nebraska's undefeated, if Michigan's undefeated, that's the game that you're tuning in for. People are going to want to see a little off-brand Patrick Mahomes. People are going to want to see Bryce Underwood. it's going to get the national eyes on it. That's a game that is hyped up if both of those teams are undefeated.
Yes.
A
Go
game
Michigan.
yes, exactly.
That is an extremely tough ask for a true freshman in Underwood if he wins the job to go in Norman, because we know how distraught Sooner fans are after last season. They can't lose that game to Michigan if you're Oklahoma.
Man, I think Michigan's getting dogged around here. I don't think didn't Michigan last year finish by beating Ohio State and Alabama?
They did. They finished 8-5.
Okay. And then now Nebraska playing Michigan when they do is better than when they usually play Michigan. Because I think by the middle of the year, or they used to go to Ann Arbor like that second weekend in November, then Michigan has an identity. So again, back to the schedule, it's when you play teams, because I think Cincinnati by the end of the year will be a bowl eligible team. But I think you get them opening night and it's a perfect opponent because they're going to be trying to figure out a lot of things out with their personnel, kind of like Nebraska. But, Nebraska is a 6.5 point favorite for a reason. I don't know. I think Michigan, their defense is still going to be good. They went out and got a running back. Their wide receivers are better. They can't be any worse at quarterback. And if you look at, so Mason Graham will be difficult to replace in the middle. Will Johnson was a high draft pick, but Will Johnson didn't play at the end of the year. And they found young guys, and they were really good in that last month on defense. So I'm kind of wait and see on Michigan, but I don't think Michigan's going to fall off the map. They're going to be where a good place to be in the Big Ten is, and that's live just outside of the gated community on the really nice cul-de-sac. Okay. The sign of the Big Ten moving forward is Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon are in a whole different atmosphere right now. But what comes 4 through 8 is pretty damn good in the Big Ten. And you know what? You don't have to apologize for being 4 through 8, because that's what's going to make the Big Ten is the Big Ten's middle is really good. And that Big Ten middle could walk into the SEC and probably grab a playoff spot. But the Big Ten may only be limited to 4.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, that Michigan game, the USC, the Iowa, you're going to have, 4 through 8 probably. You'll have some elimination games along the way. You touched on Elijah with the Indiana-Illinois game. That's a bit of an elimination game. But who's going to take that 4th spot? Who could take that 4th spot? Is Michigan there, assuming that the top 3 are the top 3? Is it Indiana? Is it Illinois? Is it Nebraska? Is it USC? Is it Washington? Is it Minnesota? I mean, Minnesota was not, a couple of things go different. The old PJ Flexter told us that they could have been a storyline along with Indiana from a record standpoint. So, and you go 9-3 in the Big Ten, or you go 6-3 in the Big Ten. Where are you at in reference to that 4th spot for the league playoff?
Nebraska needs, if Nebraska wins 10 games, guys, they're in the playoff.
Yeah,
they're in the playoff, and we're having a different show on the day that they announce the playoff bracket.
I'm just wondering what 9 does for you.
That gets you a really nice trip to play in a New Year's 6 game.
Okay. Yeah, because that was pretty much the standard for Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
They were at what, 10-1 after Ohio State.
You win 10 games. You're Nebraska. You win 10 games. You're going to be in the playoff.
And we have 3 more weeks to figure out if it's 8, if it's 9, if it's better than 9 for Nebraska.
And you really can't say, they might win 10 until they win 1 and they prove otherwise that they're different, because they win a game that's been hyped up, that is against a Power 4 team, neutral site, kick off the season. Tell me you're different by going and winning that game. One final thing here. So I'm pretty sure the AP poll comes out tomorrow, but it comes out sometime in the next week. I don't think Nebraska will be top 25, but where do you think Nebraska will be ranked? Like
34th. They'll be top 30, top 35. I think they'll be right there with Minnesota, probably. Iowa might be ranked, might be just on the outside looking in. I think Iowa will be higher. I think you'll have an Illinois and Indiana ranking. I think you're right that Michigan will be right around that late teen to 20-ish And then you've got Oregon and Penn State and Ohio State probably in your top 7.
You think five Big Ten teams will be ranked? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think so.
I think Nebraska will be in that top 30 neighborhood. Because they'll be the sexy ORV, others receiving votes. I thought they'd be pretty good, but I'm going to put them right here just in case. I'm curious as to who this year's Florida State's going to be. Who's going to enter the season in the top 10 without a parachute and get knocked off?
Yeah.
And, there's always somebody.
Wasn't that Michigan last year? Weren't they preseason top 10 after their championship year?
Yeah, they came in with having to replace about everybody.
Yeah.
And here's Texas to start out.
Yeah, but they kind of did have a parachute. Florida State did not.
Yeah.
Florida State was top 10. They got manhandled in Ireland by Georgia Tech. And everybody thought Georgia Tech was for real. And they were a much improved physical team. They were better. But Florida State just jumped out of the plane.
They never recovered from Georgia. They just never did.
Yeah. Exactly. So who's the team that's gonna be in the top 10 this year that isn't even gonna be amongst the Orvals at the end of the season?
Florida State really fast. They have Bama week 1.
Yeah.
James
awesome.
Williams after that passer.
Maybe the ACC will tell them they can go if they want.
Here's the door. I don't know. I don't know who's going to fall off. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Oklahoma could be in some trouble.
God, there's a lot of people that like Oklahoma, though.
They do, though. They do.
But man, I look at their last 7 games, and I'm like, well, you guys ought to be in a room with Wisconsin with that schedule.
Right. Yeah. They're cellmates.
Hey, speaking of schedules, Missouri has 9 home games this year. Missouri has 9 home games.
Yeah, they should, because they had to go to UMass last year. Who the hell was in charge of that scheduling?
Steven asked, does Ole Miss fall off the map a little bit this year?
Got a new quarterback. I don't know. I think Lane's pretty savvy.
Yeah, Lane
got to win some football games now he's got to win more games that matter and lose less games that you go, what the?
Is Tennessee 7-5 without their quarterback?
Without their special teams coordinator, more importantly.
Yeah.
And then is Auburn sneaky good or just use counting his money and doesn't matter? I just wonder about Auburn.
They better hope that Jackson Arnold is.
Yeah. Sharpie, good stuff. Thank you for being the eyes and ears, my friend.
I'll be sending you guys a bill.
Show. Do so. We'll pay it at some point. That's Bill Doleman. That's Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt. Like and subscribe to the Average Joe Sports Show. Do so on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for the pod. AJ Sports Radio on Twitter. Catch Sharpie weekday mornings with the Gary and Matt Show on 1620. Check Sharpie out there. We'll be back at you tomorrow afternoon with the Average Joe Sports Show at 4 on YouTube and along the Average Joe Network. Billy D, get ready for class. Elijah, God love you. You made it through wedding season.
Now we just got to make it through Salt Dog season. A couple weeks left.
Yeah.
What is worse?
Salt Dog baseball. And we are going to say fare thee well and talk to you next time here with the Average Joe Sports Show. Thanks.